Hello, welcome to Motorcycle News. My name is Joseph, I'm the videographer here, and today we're going to be having a look at Insta360's all new X5 to find out what's new and is it worth the upgrade from your X4.
This is probably the easiest way to capture your rifle.
Now, like Marc Marquez in this year's MotoGP season, Insta360 have been dominant when it comes to dual lens cameras, and before any of their rivals could catch up, they've released an all new camera. Now, I must say I was a little surprised when hearing the news of this launching, as the X4 has only been out for a year, but let's find out what's new. So for motorcycle users, there's 5 main upgrades that you need to know about. And they are, number 1, the sensor is bigger. It's 144% bigger than their last model. This is basically to allow more light so you can shoot day or night. Secondly, the audio is better. They've got new wind guards all the way around this camera, so even if you're traveling at speeds, you'll be able to capture your bike sound. Number 3, there's better battery life. It's up to 185 minutes when shooting in endurance mode, but unfortunately, the batteries from your X4 don't fit in the X5. Number 4, and most important, is this camera has replaceable lenses. On the X4, if you drop this camera or got a chip on the lens, you had to replace the whole unit. Whereas on the new camera, you just replace the lenses. And lastly, there's a bunch of new settings on this camera, including HDR mode when in 5.7K. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like the biggest upgrade in the world, especially when you compare it to the upgrade from the X3 to the X4. The camera's still 8K, but let's compare these two and see how they look in the real world. To do this, I'm going to be strapping both cameras to my bike and going for a ride. I'm also going to have an Ace Pro on my chin just to give you the comparison to a single lens camera. So first of all, let's talk video quality and more specifically that bigger sensor. For this, I did 3 separate rides, one in bright daylight, one on a cloudy afternoon and one at night time, to see how much of a difference that sensor made in different light conditions. In bright daylight, when I reviewed the footage, I couldn't tell too much of a difference. On the X4, it's slightly more grainy in the darker sections, but when uploaded to YouTube or social media, I really don't think you'd be able to notice it. But when I compared these cameras on a cloudy day, that sensor size became apparent. If you look at the difference between these two clips, the X5 has so much more dynamic range. The sky isn't blown out, the shadows aren't crushed, and there's also so much more scope for colour grading without getting colour noise in your image. And then at night, the real magic happens. You can honestly use this camera day or night now. The pure video mode is absolutely outstanding, and that AI noise reduction is really impressive.
It's also just a great time to look at this pure video. I mean, it's 8K still. On the old camera, you had to drop to 5.7K to do anything indoors or at night. But somehow, still shoot 8K and capture pitch black nighttime. Insane.
In terms of audio clarity for motorcyclists, the X4 was already a great piece of kit. It did a really good job at getting rid of wind noise and isolating your motorcycle sound. But the X5 does it even better. The integration of wind guards around the camera just gets rid of that last 10% of wind noise. This also helps with dual track audio, which is a feature on Insta360 cameras where you can use your intercom microphone and the camera microphone at the same time and then combine them in post to get a really nice, natural sounding motovlog setup.
So, the beauty of it is you couple that crisp narration with what the camera's capturing, which is able to get rid of the wind as well, but it's able to isolate the bike noise. So if you want to hear yourself and your bike, this is going to be the best way to do it.
And the last thing I want to talk about is just those replaceable lenses. I just noticed when I was shooting with the camera how creative I could be, knowing that if I got a scratch on the lens, it wasn't the whole unit that needed to be changed, I could just change the lenses. But one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is now with these replaceable lenses, I definitely think it'd be possible to have ND filters available. Might be something that Insta360 are still working on, but for me that's probably the biggest limiting factor of this camera still.
So I put my Insta360 in some pretty daring places to get really creative with it, and one of my favourite things is this little tool that you can get from Insta360. It just helps really kind of tighten up those mounts more than you can do with your fingers, which just gives you that bit of assurance that it's going to be able to kind of keep up with the vibrations and stuff on the bike.
So my final thoughts on the Insta360 X5. I have only had this camera for about a month now, so there's definitely a big review coming in the future. But for now, I definitely have been impressed by this bit of kit. Everything I love about 360 cameras is still the same. The ability to zoom out impossibly far, shoot now, frame later, the ability to shoot vertical and horizontal content at the same time is definitely clutch. But would I say it's worth upgrading from your X4? Well, that definitely depends how much shooting you're doing in challenging lighting conditions. I feel like if you just shoot in the daylight, then there's not too much of a difference. But if you're someone that's looking to color grade and really push your camera, then the X5 is definitely a worthwhile purchase. That being said, I really want to know your thoughts after seeing the footage. Do you think the camera's worth it? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video.